Now, as we go into it, I use this concept, cracking the code. And, a lot of marketers use this concept, crack the code this or that, and it's almost sometimes considered a gimmick. But what I mean when I say crack the personality code and take it to the bank is I literally mean cracking the code. You see, this device right here that we have on our screen is known as a cryptex. Cryptex is a combination of two words, cryptology, which is the science of locking up secret information, and codex, which is the written script or scroll that has the secret message on it stuffed inside and locked in the device. Now, this concept of a cryptex was actually made famous in the movie or the book, The Da Vinci Code. If you haven't seen it or watched it, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful story. And it's a story where Tom Hanks in the movie plays the actor who's a historian, and he's in rigorous pursuit of the secret to the Holy Grail. Now, the secret to the Holy Grail was actually written on a piece of paper and locked inside this device, which was passcode protected. Notice the little dials that have the entire alphabet on every single dial, and he had to successfully turn and rotate those dials to spell out the secret code word that would open up this device. When the device opened up, there would be the secret scroll and the secret message, and of course the entire plot of the movie was based around what was the code word that opened up this device. But here's the challenge, and thus the drama and the plot in the movie, was that this little device was booby-trapped. You see, the scroll inside was wrapped around a tiny little vial of vinegar that was designed to shatter open if the device was tampered with in any way. So if he failed to crack the code, that vial of vinegar would shatter open, dissolve the papyrus scroll on the inside, and basically leave him with absolutely what? Nothing. You see, that was the entire plot of the movie. So what's the analogy that I use for training salespeople? As a matter of fact, I brought a little demonstration with me today. I want you to imagine from this point forward, every single relationship, every prospect, every customer that you talk to is wearing a little invisible cryptex, and it may be hanging around their neck or dangling off their keychain. But you see, locked inside this device right here, if we were to open it open, imagine what if inside was a little scroll that had the exact scripts of what to say to them to close that sale. This, in fact, would be the holy grail for salespeople if you could figure out what that code was and how to open up this device and close the sale every single time you met with a customer. What value would you place on this ability if you could successfully figure out how to crack the code? And let me tell you, if you actually could do that, you would definitely take it to the bank. Yet how many of us in sales have actually instead broken open those vials of vinegar in the sales process and basically dissolved or evaporated our entire chance of closing the sale or making money? And this was the frustration that so many of us are experiencing in the sales process, because we're trying to do the right thing, we're attempting to crack the code, we want to close the sale, but unfortunately somehow we messed it up, we screwed it up, and we broke open that vial of vinegar and we walked away feeling frustrated and defeated. You see, the concept of bank was based on the theory of the 4 personality types. And let me be the first to share with you that I did not invent this theory. As a matter of fact, the 4 personality types dates back centuries in time, and it was Hippocrates, the father of medicine, who made this theory famous in 4th century BC. As he diagnosed his medical patients, he was able to classify them into 4 different categories of people. He called this the 4 temperaments. Now, centuries later, many experts, behavioral studies, psychologists, PhDs, have really taken in-depth application to the 4 personality types and created numerous programs available in the marketplace today. As a matter of fact, millions and millions of people worldwide have taken some form of a personality-based assessment to learn more about themselves. Obviously, we are a very fascinating topic to ourselves. And I remember the first time I began learning about the 4 personality types in my sales journey, I was fascinated, most likely just like you. And I remember studying lots of different programs. For example, you may be familiar with DISC, probably one of the most popular programs in the marketplace. or Myers-Briggs or Keirsey, the color code. I know there's ones with animals or dolphins and sharks and sea urchins and whales. There's ones with astrology signs or also possibly even the elements. You name it, it's been created. So what could possibly make bank completely different and unique? Well, here's the concept. You see, what I realized is that in studying all of these different programs, and they're all amazing and great and educational and powerful in their own way, but not one single one of them ever taught me how to make more money or close more sales. You see, what I discovered along the way was that, in fact, there was a missing link. And that missing link was that not one of the programs ever taught me about who my customer is or how they make their buying decisions. You see, in the sales process, at the end of the day, I didn't need to care about what my personality type was. I don't need an assessment on who I am. I need to know who my customer is, and I need to know, most importantly, could I classify these 4 different types according to the way they make their buying decisions. You see, bank is completely different than any other program in the marketplace. It's not just another regurgitated version of something that already existed. As a matter of fact, let's take DISC as an example. You can't take DISC and BANK and put them together and expect them to be an exact match. It's a completely different methodology. Why? Because bank is based on the science of how these personality types make their buying decisions, and it's 100% focused on who your prospect is or your customer. You see, the challenge is, for most of us in sales, we've all been trained to deliver one sales presentation and to do it over and over and over again. And that's why we've been told, in order to get more yeses, we have to get more nos. Have you ever stopped to think about where the no's are coming from and why? Wasn't that customer genuinely interested in buying what it is that you had to sell? Isn't, in fact, that's why they stopped by to talk to you in the first place? You see, when you look a little bit deeper, it starts to make sense that the customer actually wanted your product or service, or perhaps your opportunity. Yet something didn't quite fit right with them, which is why they didn't buy from you. You see, what was happening is that you were delivering the wrong script. You were breaking open that vial of vinegar, and you were dissolving any possibility for closing the sale. You see, what I learned, I was inspired by Tony Robbins when he said, let your prospect determine your presentation. I'm going to say that again. Let your prospect determine your presentation. Well, guys, this is where I got the genius of bank. You see, if in fact there's 4 personality types, wouldn't it make sense that I, as a salesperson, have 4 different sales presentations, and I simply deliver the one based on who my prospect is and how they buy? Could I boil it down to a specific scientific formula based on the way they make their thought processes related to a buying decision? And in fact, could I figure out a way to code them so that I would then know what presentation to deliver? Picture the 4 personality types like foreign languages. You see, if you're watching me right now, I'm expecting you to understand English in the current episode. See, the challenge is, if I'm speaking to you in English and you don't speak any English, obviously we're not going to have a great connection. We're going to have everything lost in translation, and it's ultimately not going to lead to a sale. But if I'm able to find out that in fact you might speak French, well, rather than delivering to you my presentation in English, what if you developed a skill set where you could learn a new language like that, and you could simply switch gears in your head and deliver a new presentation? And I could say, bonjour, je m'appelle chérie, enchanté. Now, all of a sudden, I spoke in French to you right now, and if you speak French, it's going to be a magical experience, because you're going to say, hey, I understood what she just said. And this is the same concept of knowing how to speak to your prospect in their own language. You see, bank has become so powerful, it's becoming a language in and of itself. What I realized in bringing bank and the methodology to the world is that no matter what country, what culture, what language you speak, that we 4 humans are the same everywhere around the world, and I have found this to be true. Now, as we take a deeper look, let me share with you the most common mistake that salespeople are making, and that includes all of us in business, and this also applies in personal relationships. But let's say, for example, over here in this first diagram, that whatever your dominant personality type is, one of the four, you're obviously not the other three. And what happens for a traditional salesperson is that you deliver your sales presentation from your point of view, through your lens. You're speaking your language to the customer, and you automatically expect them to receive your message as if you would have it told to you. See, the challenge is that you represent only 25% of the selection process here, and that means that you're only delivering the right presentation 1 out of 4 times. Well, the inverse is also true, that if your dominant personality type is one of the 4, you are not the other 3, which means you're delivering the wrong sales presentation 3 out of 4 times. 75% of the money that you could have made is left on the closing table simply because you're failing to deliver the right presentation when you talk to your customer. Imagine the amount of lost human resources, capital, marketing dollars, or lost revenue that you're sacrificing simply because you're failing to deliver the right presentation every single time. You see, it no longer makes sense anymore to have one presentation that you try to deliver to 4 different types of people. As a matter of fact, that's where we could basically classify you as trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. So let me ask you a different question. What if it became possible to deliver the right presentation 4 out of 4 times? Could you imagine what could become possible with your sales and your income if you could master this one technique? This is precisely what I did. You see, when I created the BANK methodology, I created a classification of 4 different types of people that make up the acronym of BANK. The B stands for blueprint, A stands for action, N stands for nurturing, and K stands for knowledge. BANK are my version of the 4 classifications of the personality types according to how they buy. You see, unlike other programs that are in the marketplace, I don't care whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I care about how you make your buying decision. And under these 4 classifications, no one in the entire world has ever divided these 4 categories this way. This is what makes BANK unique in the entire global marketplace and why we're so excited to share it with you today. As a matter of fact, when you take a deeper look and you go through these 4 different personality types and we classify them BANK, we're going to show you how to increase your sales results by 300%. Now take a look at this graph right here. Beginning with the first single blue block. Let's represent that as the blueprint personality type, or 1 out of 4 possibilities. If this were a foreign language, let's say that you already speak that as your native language, for example, English. You're already doing that prior to learning this BANK methodology. Now, if you added a second language to your skill set, and you now could speak to not just the B category, but the A category, right? That red block representing the action personality type. You've increased your sales results or your influence by 100% because now you can close 2 out of 4 as opposed to 1 out of 4. Add yet a third language or a third skill set, a third ability to communicate to that category of people, the yellow, the nurturing category, and now you've increased your sales by 200% above your original baseline. And of course, we take it that one step further. Imagine being able to speak 4 languages or to be able to deliver your sales presentation to 4 different categories of people where it alters depending on who you're talking to. When you have the ability to deliver that sales presentation differently to 4 out of 4 different types of people, you've increased your sales results there by 300% above your original baseline. You see, here's the truth. If you swap out the word sales and replace it with the word influence, when you increase your influence by 300%, when you have the ability to speak to all 4 different categories of people, and at a moment's notice, you can alter the way that you deliver your presentation and exactly what you say to them according to their code, your sales results actually have the possibility of increasing far beyond 300%. I shared with you my first year results went up 695% by increasing my influence 300%.